A few months before Pearl Harbor was attacked, Life magazine ran a black and white photograph of an up-and-coming movie actress named Rita Hayworth. The red-headed beauty was kneeling on a bed made up with satin sheets. Her silky nightgown is white, with black lace trimming the low-cut top. Bob Landry, the photographer, took many photos of Hayworth, but his favorite was an accidental one. His flash was too bright, and this is mirrored in the black silhouette reflected at Hayworth's back. However, Landry thought this added more depth and mysterious allure to the picture and submitted it to the magazine. John G. Morris, in his book Get the Picture, A Personal History of Photojournalism, remembers, "One day, a Columbia Pictures press agent named Magda Maskell suggested photographing Rita Hayworth in a black lace nightgown that Maskell's mother had made. Pollard and photographer Bob Landry met Maskell at Hayworth's apartment. She knelt on a bed in the nightie, looking provocative, and Landry snapped away. Good, but something else might be done. Pollard spoke up. Rita, take a deep breath. That was it. The perfect frame. 4 months after Hayworth's photo was published, America went to war, and soldiers took the silken lace picture along to remind them of home. Eventually, the picture became one of the most famous and most frequently reproduced American pin-up images ever. By the end of the war, more than 5 million copies of this photo were sold. The US Navy named her the redhead we would most like to be shipwrecked with. Only Betty Grable, smiling cutely over her shoulder in a white bathing suit and heels, with legs that went on forever, sold more pin-ups. World War II was the golden age of pin-ups. For the first time in history, the US military unofficially sanctioned the creation and distribution of pin-up pictures, magazines, and calendars to troops in order to raise morale and remind young men what they were fighting for. These vintage World War II pin-up posters adorned servicemen's lockers, the walls of barracks, and even the sides of planes. Hayworth was one of the biggest stars of Hollywood's golden age. Her biggest success on film was the lead role in Gilda. "There never was a woman like Gilda," says a movie poster of the day. It was during the filming of You'll Never Get Rich that the 1941 silken lace Life magazine photo was taken. There was way more to Rita Hayworth's wartime activities than being a pin-up girl. She volunteered in the Naval Aid Auxiliary, an organization of men and women which provided general assistance to the Navy and Marines. As most stars in Hollywood, Rita was a regular at the Hollywood Canteen, where she served food and danced with the servicemen. She also visited over 300 cities as part of 7 war bond tours, as well as touring camps and military hospitals. Rita was horrified in 1946 to find out that her famous pin-up picture had been plastered on the bomb tested on the Bikini Atoll. Hayworth's off-screen life, meanwhile, was frequently tough. She married 5 times, she struggled with alcoholism, she was diagnosed with Alzheimer's disease. Her celebrity brought a lot of attention and research funding for what was then little understood disease. When she died on May 14, 1987, President Reagan praised her contribution and brave face towards the disease. In a moment of lucid thought, she once told an interviewer, "Whatever you write about me, don't make it sad." Brigitte Bardot was born in September 1934 in Paris and is a French actress, singer, and model. Famous for portraying sexually emancipated personae with hedonistic lifestyles, she was one of the best-known sex symbols of the late 1950s and 1960s. Bardot was born to wealthy bourgeois parents, and at the age of 15, she posed for the cover of Elle, May 8, 1950, France's leading women's magazine. Roger Vadim, an aspiring director, was impressed and shrewdly fashioned her public and screen image as an erotic child of nature, blonde, sensuous, and amoral. In 2 motion pictures directed by Vadim, Et Dieu créa la femme, 1956, and God Created Woman, and Les Bijoutiers du Clair de Lune, 1958, The Jewelers of Moonlight. Bardot broke contemporary film taboos against nudity and set box office records in Europe and the United States. During her early career, professional photographer Sam Levin's photos contributed to the image of Bardot's sensuality. One showed Bardot from behind, dressed in a white corset. British photographer Cornell Lucas made images of Bardot in the 1950s and 1960s that have become representative of her public persona. Brigitte was the subject of Simone de Beauvoir's 1959 essay, The Lolita Syndrome, which described her as a locomotive of women's history and built upon existentialist themes to declare her the first and most liberated woman of post-war France. Bardot was the darling of disaffected French leftists, to whom she symbolized an artless disregard for conventional morality. Of her many films, the most notable are Vie privée, 1962, The Private Life, Le Mépris, 1963, Contempt, Viva Maria, 1965, Dear Brigitte, 1965, and Masculine Feminin, 1966, Masculine Feminine. With her career waning, Bardot appeared in her final films in 1973 and subsequently retired. Bardot retired from the entertainment industry in 1973. She had acted in 47 films, performed in several musicals, and recorded more than 60 songs. She was awarded the Legion of Honor in 1985. After retiring, she became an animal rights activist and created the Brigitte Bardot Foundation. Young Brigitte Bardot photos, The Guardian named Bardot one of the most iconic faces, models, and actors of the 1950s and 1960s. She has been called a style icon and a muse for Dior, Balmain, and Pierre Cardin. In fashion, the Bardot neckline, a wide-open neck that exposes both shoulders, is named after her. Bardot popularized this style, which is especially used for knitted sweaters or jumpers, although it is also used for other tops and dresses. Bardot popularized the bikini in her early films, such as Menina, 1952, released in France as Menina, La Fille sans voile. The following year, she was also photographed in a bikini on every beach in the south of France during the Cannes Film Festival. Young Brigitte Bardot photos. She gained additional attention when she filmed And God Created Woman, 1956, with Jean-Louis Trintignant, released in France as Et Dieu créa la femme. In it, Bardot portrays an immoral teenager cavorting in a bikini who seduces men in a respectable small-town setting. The film was an international success. Bardot's image was linked to the shoemaker Repetto, who created a pair of ballerinas for her in 1956. The bikini was in the 1950s relatively well accepted in France, but was still considered risqué in the United States. As late as 1959, Anne Cole, one of the United States' largest swimsuit designers, said, "It's nothing more than a G-string. It's at the razor's edge of decency." Young Brigitte Bardot photos. She also brought into fashion the choucroute, sauerkraut, hairstyle, a sort of beehive hairstyle, and gingham clothes after wearing a checkered pink dress, designed by Jacques Esterel at her wedding to Charrier. She was the subject of an Andy Warhol painting. Isabella Biedenhahn of Elle wrote that Bardot has inspired thousands of women to tease their hair or try out winged eyeliner over the past few decades. In May 1949, Charles L. Langs unveiled a revolutionary beachwear innovation: adhesive bra cups that women could attach directly to their breasts. Langs, a successful entrepreneur who had made his fortune by chromium plating car grills for Cadillac and Ford, collaborated with industrial chemist Charles W. Walton to develop a specialized adhesive. This adhesive remained in place when needed and left no sticky residue upon removal. The product, marketed as Poses, pronounced Pose-Ease, consisted of individual strapless cups with frilled edges and sharp points. These cups were designed to be worn as outerwear, allowing for an even tan. They were intended to be robust enough to withstand vigorous exercise, yet easy to remove without discomfort. Langs and Walton claimed that the cups would stay in place even if the wearer jumped into a pool from a 10-foot diving board, a claim many found dubious. A 1949 Life magazine article highlighted the novelty of poses, noting that for the first time in history, clothing would be glued on. The design was said to give women a striking appearance, particularly from behind. However, the venture faced challenges. Langs eventually sold the business to Textron Inc., but customer complaints about poor quality and delivery issues plagued the product. Additionally, the need for frequent reapplication of the adhesive and concerns about allergic reactions contributed to the trend's rapid decline. Despite its innovative design, poses failed to leave a lasting impact on the evolution of brassieres. Overall, adhesive bras have become a versatile and convenient option for women seeking a seamless look under certain types of clothing. However, they may not replace traditional bras for everyday wear due to limitations in support and comfort for all body types. In 1907, Annette Kellerman made headlines when she donned a one-piece swimsuit that ended in shorts above her knees at Revere Beach. This bold choice sparked outrage, as her exposed legs were deemed scandalous by contemporary standards, leading to her arrest for indecency. Despite the controversy, Kellerman was already a celebrated figure. By 1905, she had set all women's world swimming records. Kellerman, an Australian swimmer, captivated audiences not only with her athletic prowess, but also as a vaudeville performer known for her stunning high dives and underwater ballet, earning her the moniker the original mermaid in the media. In stark contrast to the heavy wool dresses that women typically wore to the beach, complete with puffed sleeves and long stockings, Kellerman's streamlined swimsuit was considered shockingly revealing. Reflecting on her arrest decades later in a 1953 interview with the Boston Sunday Globe, Kellerman expressed both amusement and disbelief. She recalled how her father was particularly shocked by the incident, having always viewed her as his innocent, protected little girl. Fortunately, the judge allowed her to wear the one-piece suit as long as she covered it with a full-length cape until reaching the water. Kellerman's swimming achievements were groundbreaking. She gained international fame by swimming 3/4 of the way across the English Channel in 10.5 hours in 1905. She also set records in various events, including a 26-mile swim from Dover to Ramsgate in 1908 and an underwater time of 3 minutes and 27 seconds. Notably, she often competed against men and frequently triumphed. Her innovative one-piece swimsuits gained immense popularity, prompting Kellerman to launch her own fashion line, which marked a significant shift in swimwear design. Beyond fashion, she played a crucial role in popularizing synchronized swimming and authored a swimming manual to share her knowledge. In film, Kellerman made history in 1916 by starring in A Daughter of the Gods, becoming the first major actress to appear nude in a Hollywood production. While she is recognized for pioneering modern swimwear, she was less favorable towards the bikini style that emerged after its debut in 1946. In her Globe interview, she criticized it as a mistake, arguing that it revealed too much and created an unflattering silhouette on the leg. In 1908, Harvard professor Dudley A. Sargent named Kellerman the perfect woman based on a study of her proportions, which closely resembled those of the Venus de Milo. Throughout her career with Fox Films, she was often promoted as Australia's perfect woman, enhancing her celebrity status. Kellerman married her manager James Sullivan on November 26, 1912, and maintained a vegetarian lifestyle throughout her life. She owned a health food store in Long Beach, California, reflecting her commitment to health and fitness. Even into her senior years, she remained active in swimming and exercise until shortly before her death, at age 89 on November 6, 1975. teenage girls in the 1940s experienced a surprising degree of independence, a lifestyle that might inspire envy in many modern teens. Raised in a time when societal norms emphasized dressing well to attract a future husband and working part-time jobs to afford items like fine wedding china, their upbringing was rooted in tradition. Yet, as they grew older, the world around them changed dramatically. With young men away fighting in World War II and both parents often working outside the home, these girls found themselves navigating a new, less supervised reality with more disposable income than ever before. At school, a strict dress code dictated every detail, from blouses and skirts to socks, shoes, jewelry, and hairstyles, reinforcing a sense of order and conformity. Outside of school, however, teenage girls embraced newfound freedom in fashion and lifestyle. They purchased clothes that reflected their personal tastes, such as knit sweaters, plaid skirts, bobby socks, and loafers, often accessorized with nail polish painted eyeglasses. Their choices frequently veered away from the styles preferred by their mothers, surprising designers with their bold, individualistic selections. Many adopted more masculine looks, incorporating pantsuits, slacks, denim jeans, and even overalls into their wardrobes. Movie theaters and soda fountains became popular hangouts where they listened to Frank Sinatra, swing danced, and enjoyed the relative carefree independence that wartime circumstances afforded them. The entertainment industry in the 1940s recognized the growing influence of teenagers and quickly tapped into this emerging market. One of the era's standout innovations was 17 magazine, launched in 1944. It became an instant hit among teen girls, offering advice on makeup, fashion, and navigating relationships with parents. During the 1940s and 1950s, mass media started playing a role in shaping a distinct teenage identity. Teens began shifting their attention away from family dynamics and toward their peers, spending more time engaging in activities tailored to their interests. They frequented spaces designed for their entertainment, from soda fountains to drive-in theaters, embracing a lifestyle that often perplexed or worried their parents. Despite this cultural shift, the concept of family togetherness found a new space in suburban homes of the 1950s. Looking through a lot of photos of these actresses, it is impossible not to notice how they changed and became different in the process of life. I will start with one of the sexiest actresses. It is Brigitte Bardot. In 1956 came out with her participation in the movie And God Created Woman. She said of shooting in this movie, "The best shooting I have not had. I did not play, lived." Vadim, having studied me, never reshot the same scene more than twice. He knew that with each take goes my naturalness. Beautiful movie, and Brigitte Bardot with each new role looks more and more attractive and beautiful. You can see how the thin girl with dark hair and radiant eyes changed into a very sexy, bright blonde with a gorgeous figure. Also gorgeous is Anita Ekberg, a Swedish photo model and actress who won the Miss Sweden contest in 1951 and went on to conquer Hollywood. Bathing in the fountain and kiss Anita Ekberg with Marcello Mastroianni in Federico Fellini's movie Sweet Life cannot be forgotten, as well as a very bright appearance of the actress. The actress said about the director, "It's not he made me famous, but on the contrary, I am his." But we understand, of course, that the genius of Fellini made her famous all over the world. And this scene in the fountain has become a calling card of the actress. Catherine Deneuve is some kind of magic of talent and unearthly beauty. I would say that she is more than an actress or a woman. Having lost her own sister, Catherine lives her life also for her and starred a lot in the best movies. The Umbrellas of Cherbourg, Repulsion, Daytime Beauty, and many other wonderful movies with her participation will not leave anyone indifferent. She is ironic to herself. The advertising of perfume brought me more fame than any movie in which I starred. On love, I'm afraid of love like I'm afraid of pain, because the flip side of any love is always pain. Photo actress Rita Hayworth. American soldiers carried with them at the front. She seemed like a goddess to them. She was called the Goddess of Love to describe Rita Hayworth after she became the most glamorous screen idol of the 1940s. She was the best pin-up girl of the time. Her dancing is still admired now, the way she pulls off her glove and throws it into the audience in the movie Gilda. The charming Grace Kelly is simply a diamond among actresses. It's like a light is coming from her. I would say that she is perfection itself. Grace became famous for one night. This is the awarding of Oscar in 1955. The ceremony was televised, turning it into a super spectacle at a cost of $500,000. The award went to Grace Kelly for her role in The Country Girl, although everyone thought that the statuette will get Judy Garland, who played Vicky Lester in the movie A Star is Born. Grace and the Hermes brand also had a special relationship. If the actress broke her arm, she wore a silk scarf of the French brand instead of the usual bandage. Fashion House named the bag in her honor, Kelly. The sexiest and most attractive actress of all times, of course, is Marilyn Monroe, who is so cheerful in these early pictures and completely different in later ones. A difficult childhood, failed marriages, and being seen only as a goofy blonde depressed and killed the beautiful actress. In Jazz Only Girls, Niagara, All About Eve, Gentlemen Prefer Blondes. In each role, she is absolutely peerless and appealing. Her diary and very curious, intelligent notes about life remained. The actress said, "You know, people ask me questions. For example, what do you wear to sleep? Pajamas, pajama pants, a nightgown. And I say, Chanel No. 5. Because it's true. I'm not going to answer naked. Keep your head up, your chin up, and most importantly, keep smiling, because life is a beautiful thing and it gives you so many reasons to smile." I never wanted to be Marilyn. It just happened. Marilyn is like the veil I wear over Norma Jean. These black and white photographs, taken by life photographer Cornell Carper in 1947, beautifully capture the style of teenage girls from Highland Park High School during the mid to late 1940s. These images provide a glimpse into the fashion and elegance of the era, underlining the timeless appeal of youth. The concept of the teenager had only recently been introduced, with the term first coined in 1941. By 1944, 17 magazine had published its inaugural issue, catering specifically to this new demographic. The magazine focused on fashion and interests that were distinctively aimed at young women who were no longer children, but not yet adults. In the 1940s, the quintessential teenage girl's outfit consisted of a pleated plaid skirt, a snug-fitting sweater layered over a blouse, white bobby socks, and a pair of loafers or saddle shoes. This ensemble was practical and comfortable, striking a balance between being dressy enough for school while still casual enough for after-school activities. Accessories were kept minimal, with options like a chain necklace, ID bracelet, or a scarf. Hairstyles typically featured long hair pulled back to one or both sides. Although some details, such as sock styles or types of jewelry, evolved over time, the overall look remained consistent well into the early 1950s. Contrasting this was the trend of form-fitting sweaters, a style popularized by movie stars known as sweater girls during the late 1940s and early 1950s. Sweaters made from brushed wool or angora, which had a fuzzy texture, were especially fashionable. Later in the decade, sweaters with embroidered motifs such as animals, flowers, and insects became a popular fad. One of the most iconic fashion pieces of the 1940s was the Sloppy Joe sweater, a plain crew neck or button-up cardigan worn in a larger size for a relaxed, boxy fit. Contrasting this was the trend of form-fitting sweaters, a style popularized by movie stars known as sweater girls during the late 1940s and early 1950s. Sweaters made from brushed wool or angora, which had a fuzzy texture, were especially fashionable. Later in the decade, sweaters with embroidered motifs such as animals, flowers, and insects became a popular fad. Highland Park High School is a public, co-educational high school situated just north of downtown Dallas in University Park, Dallas County, Texas. The school's attendance zone includes the entire city of University Park, most of the town of Highland Park, and portions of Dallas. The origins of Highland Park High School trace back to the Armstrong School, a yellow brick schoolhouse that opened on October 12, 1915, initially offering education only up to the 9th grade. In 1922, after the district acquired 11 lots in 1920, the high school moved to its own dedicated building on Normandy Avenue. That same year, the 10th grade was introduced, followed by the addition of the 11th grade the next year. In 1924, Highland Park Independent School District celebrated its first high school graduation ceremony on June 2nd, with 34 students comprising the inaugural graduating class. At that time, only 11 years of schooling were required for college admission. It wasn't until 1937 that the 12th grade was added to the curriculum, aligning the school with broader educational standards. The flight attendant occupation took permanent shape in the 1930s as women's work. That is, work not only predominantly performed by women, but also defined as embodying white, middle-class ideals of femininity. As the nascent commercial aviation industry sought to lure well-heeled travelers into the air, airline managers and stewardesses together defined the new field of in-flight passenger service around the social ideal of the hostess. A stewardess's foremost duty was to mobilize the nurturing instincts and domestic skills to serve passengers. Much as middle class, white women were expected to treat guests in their own homes. The early airlines' crystallizing idea of the stewardess alone demanded, however, that the hostess to be as desirable as she was nurturing. From the start, stewardess work was restricted to white, young, single, slender, and attractive women. A 1936 New York Times article described the requirements. The girls who qualify for hostesses must be petite, weight 100 to 118 pounds, height 5 feet to 5 feet 4 inches, age 20 to 26 years. Add to that the rigid physical examination each must undergo 4 times every year, and you are assured of the bloom that goes with perfect health. The post-Wabi America changed drastically, and millions of Americans started to travel on airplanes, and the stewardess profession expanded further. Now, young working women did not have to change bedpans or take dictation. They could travel the world, meet important people, and lead exciting lives. The stewardess position was well paid, prestigious, and adventurous, and it quickly became the nation's most coveted job for women. Scores of qualified young women applied for each opening, so airlines had their pick and could hire only the crème de la crème. In order to win a stewardess position, an applicant had to be young, beautiful, unmarried, well-groomed, slim, charming, intelligent, well-educated, white, heterosexual, and doting. In other words, the post-war stewardess embodied mainstream America's perfect woman. She became a role model for American girls and an ambassador of femininity and the American way abroad. The appearance was considered as one of the most important factors to become a stewardess. At that time, airlines believed that the exploitation of female sexuality would increase their profits. Thus, the uniforms of female flight attendants were often form-fitting, complete with white gloves and high heels. In the United States, they were required to be unmarried and were fired if they decided to wed. A stewardess could not be pregnant. A stewardess could not grow older than her early 30s. Because no one tried to hide the fact that flight attendants were there to be eye candy, big-named designers had a fun time dressing them up and coming up with sexy new gimmicks to promote air travel. In 1968, Jean-Louis gave United Airlines stewardesses a simple Mod A-line dress with a wide stripe down the front and around the collar, and paired it with a big, blocky, kiffy-type cap. The stewardess image reached its height of sexualization, becoming a collective cultural fantasy that airlines shamelessly promoted through their advertising. The dark side of this trope was that women who got this prestigious position were often subjected to sexual harassment from drunken passengers who might pinch, pat, and proposition the stewardesses while they worked, according to Kathleen Barry's Femininity in Flight, a history of flight attendants. Despite their dual roles as mothering servants and objects of sexual fantasy, stewardesses were fighting for changes inside the airline industry. The U.S. Equal Employment Opportunity Commission's first complainants were female flight attendants complaining of age discrimination, weight requirements, and bans on marriage. Originally, female flight attendants were fired if they reached age 32 or 35, depending on the airline, were fired if they exceeded weight regulations, and were required to be single upon hiring and fired if they got married. In 1968, the EEOC declared age restrictions on flight attendants' employment to be illegal sex discrimination under Title VII of the Civil Rights Act of 1964. The restriction of hiring only women was lifted at all airlines in 1971. The no marriage rule was eliminated throughout the US airline industry by the 1980s. The last such broad categorical discrimination, the weight restrictions, were relaxed in the 1990s through litigation and negotiations. The Miss America beauty pageant, a cherished American tradition, has been a symbol of grace, talent, and beauty for nearly a century. Since its inception in the early 1920s, this iconic pageant has not only celebrated the accomplishments and charisma of young women from across the nation, but has also mirrored the societal shifts and evolving ideals of America. The origins of beauty pageants in the United States can be traced back to the late 19th century. One of the earliest documented beauty pageants in the country was the Atlantic City pageant, held in 1854 in Atlantic City, New Jersey. This event laid the groundwork for what would later become the Miss America pageant. In 1921, the Miss America pageant made its debut in Atlantic City. It was initially conceived as a way to extend the tourist season beyond Labor Day, drawing visitors to the beachside resort town. The pageant hosted the winners of local newspaper beauty contests in the Intercity Beauty Contest, which was attended by over 100,000 people. 16-year-old Margaret Gorman of Washington, D.C. was crowned Miss America 1921, having won both the popularity and beauty contests, and was awarded $100. In the 1930s, the beauty contests introduced the talent competition, elevating the event beyond a mere beauty contest. Contestants were now expected to demonstrate their skills and talents, which ranged from singing and dancing to playing musical instruments and performing dramatic monologues. This innovation recognized that beauty was not the sole measure of a woman's worth and added depth to the competition. The popularity of the Miss America pageant prompted other organizations to establish similar contests in the 1950s and beyond. Some were significant, while others were trivial, such as the National Donut Queen contest. The Miss World contest started in 1951, Miss Universe started in 1952, as did Miss USA. Miss International started in 1960. Miss Asia Pacific International, which started in 1968, is the first and oldest beauty pageant in Asia. The Miss Black America contest started in 1968 in response to the exclusion of African American women from the Miss America pageant. The Miss Universe organization started the Miss Teen USA in 1983 for the 14 to 19 age group. Miss Earth started in 2001, which channels the beauty pageant entertainment industry as an effective tool to actively promote the preservation of the environment. The requirement for contestants to wear a swimsuit was a controversial aspect of the various competitions. The controversy was heightened with the increasing popularity of the bikini after its introduction in 1946. The bikini was banned for the Miss America contest in 1947 because of Roman Catholic protesters. When the Miss World contest started in 1951, there was an outcry when the winner was crowned in a bikini. Pope Pius XII condemned the crowning as sinful, and countries with religious traditions threatened to withdraw delegates. The bikini was banned for future and other contests. It was not until the late 1990s that they became permitted again. The late 1980s and early 1990s marked a fascinating transition in women's fashion, blending the opulence of one decade with the emerging simplicity of the next. This period saw a shift in cultural attitudes that reflected directly in the clothes people wore, as vibrant, structured looks of the 1980s gradually gave way to the understated and casual aesthetic of the 1990s. For young women especially, fashion was not just about keeping up with trends, but about expressing individuality in an era that balanced optimism with rebellion. The late 1980s retained many iconic elements of the decade's style: bold colors, oversized silhouettes, and a penchant for power dressing that symbolized ambition and independence. Young women experimented with shoulder pads, sequined party dresses, acid-wash jeans, and flashy accessories, often emulating the larger-than-life looks of pop icons like Madonna and Cyndi Lauper. By the early 1990s, however, the mood shifted. Minimalism started gaining traction, influenced by a growing backlash against the excess of the previous decade. The rise of grunge music, fueled by bands like Nirvana and Pearl Jam, introduced an anti-fashion sentiment that quickly took hold in mainstream culture. Flannel shirts, ripped jeans, combat boots, and oversized sweaters became staples, embodying a casual, effortlessly cool look that rejected the polished perfection of earlier trends. At the same time, the casual chic style emerged, offering a softer take on simplicity. T-shirts paired with high-waisted jeans, hoodies, sneakers, and slip dresses layered over shirts became defining looks. This set of photographs, discovered by Stephen Martin and later shared on Flickr, offers a vivid glimpse into the fashion styles of young women in the late 1980s and early 1990s. The collection captures candid moments that show the unique blend of bold 1980s trends and the emerging minimalist aesthetics of the early 1990s.